Welcome everyone to another episode of Swift Kick TV.
Drum roll.
Drum roll.
You already said it.
Where is the band? We need the band.
Yeah,
I forgot to book them this time. It's my bad, guys. My bad.
That's right. But before we introduce the band that doesn't exist, we should actually introduce ourselves and go around. So over here we have, with all the technical controls of the show, we have
Sabina.
And then over here, co-host, we have
Melissa.
And then right here we have
Tahl.
There we go. It's a little weird for me to introduce and say my own name, but
We
that's
just
right.
said our own names. Okay.
We have a very special episode. However, before we get into what the topic is, Melissa, you look like you may have slept on a plane.
Wow, that is offensive.
Thanks, Tom.
Where
Yes.
did you just come back from?
I just got back from London. And
Is that south of Texas or
yes, absolutely.
So, okay, just checking,
yes,
just
yes.
checking.
Hashtag geography.
The end of Texas.
Hashtag geography.
Yes. And it's a cool city. So I have a funny story though. So usually in the morning, I like to wake up with the sun, right? Like the sun is the thing that wakes me up sometimes. And then usually I roll back over and go back to sleep. There was something about just being in London the first morning there. I was like, oh, cool. Like the sun's up. Let's start the day. Let's go grab coffee. The sun rises at 4:45 in the morning in London. Okay. So I was up with the sun thinking, oh, it's like 6:30, like reasonable time where I can go back to. No, man. No.
Oh my
4:45.
goodness.
And it doesn't set until about 9:30, 9:45 at night. So longest days of my life. So just time zones plus the sun coming up at that time. Like I am just like, who am I? Where am I? What's happening? So yeah, fun fact.
So you're about halfway through your day right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. A lot of sun hating going on.
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's
that.
just-
What has the sun done for you against you?
It woke me up.
At 4:45.
I, for one, love waking up to the sun. It's one of my favorite things.
At 4:45 a.m.
I'd do it. I'd be bing.
Okay, robot.
There we go. Okay, thank you. Welcome back. I'm glad you made
We
it back.
missed you.
After she just flew in. However, we're not here just to talk about how much she hates the sun. We are here to talk about the topic of working on your team versus in your team.
Yes.
And I know a lot of leaders out there struggle with this topic because there are day-to-day things that always need to happen. And then there's some leaders who transcend the day-to-day and figure out how to work on their team. And to help us with that, we have a special guest.
We do, as usual.
Do we want to cue in who that special guest is with some tips?
With some fun facts, of course, always, yes. Our guest today is the world's biggest Giants fan.
World's biggest.
World's biggest.
Not
Officially.
physical.
Not, well,
No?
who knows? You gotta
Oh,
like,
this
suspense.
is we're queuing. Okay,
Little
suspense, okay.
Yes. Our guest has been on TV a lot, including CNBC, MSNBC, and Fox Business News, and had his own cable TV show.
Do you think we could
A
get
lot
on
of
cable?
TV. You tell us.
I was
Could
once
we
I
get
was
on
once
TV?
I was once invited on the Oprah Winfrey show and got kicked off of the Oprah Winfrey show.
I don't expect
Google
anything
it, it's
less.
there.
I don't expect anything less. Our guest is also a published author.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I feel like unaccomplished right
Yeah,
now in my
me
life.
too, a little
We're
bit,
kind
but-
of authors,
Yeah,
too.
we do. We do have a book. We have
Yeah.
a book. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But we have a book. But I like it. And we're going to bring that special guest out in just a moment. However, before we do that, just a reminder that every episode, because we're professional speakers and we come to colleges and corporations to do trainings and keynotes at conferences, we always like to give a quick little tip for helping those fellow speakers out there or leaders who want to deliver better presentations. And one of those is, speaking of the topic, working on versus in, speaker tip number 412 is how to train the trainer. What happens if you need to train someone else to help do your training? Well, in this situation here, Melissa joined Swift Kick 2 years ago, and we spent a lot of time training. So I want to quickly give some tips on how to train the trainer. Number one, have a script, because if there's no script, then how are they going to know what there's actually supposed to be said or not said? Number two, practice, practice, practice. Melissa will stand there and deliver the presentation. I'll sit there, and sometimes I'll give her a grumpy face like this, because there are audience members who give you grumpy face, and then there's the audience member who just nods the whole time, even if you're supposed to be crying, they just nod. And then there's the unresponsive one that just stares blankly at you. There's a cell phone one. I mimic all these characters so that she can practice what it's like. And then the last thing is video. Watch yourself on video. And one quick trick is if you fast forward the video, it's so interesting to watch how hand movements happen. I used to do this with my hair when I had longer hair, and I discovered that when I sped up, it just looked like this on camera. So I quickly stopped that. So there you go. Speaker tip number 412, train the trainer.
It's a good one.
I like it.
On that note, are we ready
I
to
think so.
welcome...
Ready? Are you ready?
To bring the band out. Oh no, to introduce our special guest. Here we go. Ready. Welcome to the show. I know.
You did it too.
And fireworks.
Da 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 da. There's the band.
Yeah, I feel like it.
Our guest is the band. I get it now. I did book them. See?
It's amazing. It's amazing how this production works.
It all comes together.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad that you're here. You came to the studios. We know a little bit about you. However, the people out there in the video land do not. So can you give us the quick 30? I almost said minute, and I know you could give us the 30 minute.
No. Keep it bright.
Okay,
Keep
so
it light.
just a minute, who you are, where you come from.
Yeah,
what
so I have a financial wealth management practice in New Jersey, and I work in the Tri-Counties, Tri-State area, independent, and I educate people about money when it comes to retirement, when it comes to estate planning. People have issues, and everybody has an advisor, and what we like to do is take their planning to the next level. And I love what I do, and I pride myself on educating people so they understand what they're trying to do and doing the most efficient financial planning as possible to help them reach their objectives. Retirement, security, taking care of children, protecting their assets.
I love it.
Love
Yeah.
it.
And how often do people ask you just random financial questions?
All the time.
like
the
I
time.
did just before we started recording. I was like, I know this isn't the topic, but
And it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be able to give people or be a resource to have people understand something so that they're able to either A, confirm that they should be doing something, or reminding themselves that they need to do these things, like, do we have living wills? An age 18-year-old adult needs to have a living will. I'm not a lawyer, but these are things that, as I was sharing about my own daughter, at the age of 18, I want to be able to know what's happening in her life. If, God forbid, something happened, I want the doctor to be able to talk to me. So sometimes I can't be all fun and games. I have to actually be serious and share these things.
just by show of hands, who has a living will in here? Will you? I
I'll
assume
help
you
you.
do.
I do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, I hope you do.
Well, no,
Will you
like
do
my
that?
daughter's about to travel to Rome in the fall, let
Yeah,
alone
yeah.
just out in the world, She goes to school in D.C., and I want to be able to know what's happening and be able to help and take care of things. We're not in control of a lot of things in life. So, and that goes for, even the conversation of investing,
Yeah. All right. Well, I glad to hear the technical side of what you do and the professional side. However, here at Swift Kick TV, we like to get to know you on a personal level. So we have our own questions, and we call it the rapid fire round.
Wait, but first, did we say your name?
My name is Saul Simon.
There we go. I was thinking, did I miss his
Saul.
name? I was like,
Saul Simon, as in King Saul, or my Spanish and French friends call me Saul. So
I love
I'm
that.
a bit of schizophrenic, so whatever you want to call me, call me. 1-888 Simon Says. I trademarked Simon Says. Can you believe that?
You trademarked
I
it?
trademarked Simon Says in the financial planning education space.
That's great.
Yeah.
And somebody called Saul. That's a TV
Better
show.
Call
Better Call Saul.
Yeah,
Right?
from Breaking Bad.
This is
Yeah.
like you're on a.
I better be confident
You have
to
a
be able
great
to
name.
talk about. Yeah. Anyway.
The only Tom out there is Tommy Boy, and I just don't like it. I just
not the same.
ruined it for me. Okay.
And Melissa's is all cupcakes.
I mean,
Thanks, my
there's
Melissa.
worse things
There are
than
worse
cupcakes.
things, yes.
Which,
I
if
miss
Melissa,
cupcakes.
Baked by Melissa, would like to sponsor the show, hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Just wait
All
till
right.
my
Anyway.
30 is done. Okay.
With that, you ready to enter the rapid fire round?
Yes,
Exactly.
that's a yes.
That's a yes. All right,
Were
ready?
you first or me?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay, ready?
Okay, great.
And already.
I hope I get the right answer. Okay, go.
Okay. Museum or gallery?
Museum.
Favorite exercise?
Yoga.
Ooh.
Hugs or high fives?
Oh, definitely hugs.
Yes, welcome to the party. Dance party or book club?
Hello.
Yeah, come on.
Dance.
But imagine if there were a book club where it was like the intermission was dancing every so often.
Just like music.
So our next book club meeting.
Yeah.
Got it.
Skyscraper or a cabin?
Cabin.
Alright.
I like the outdoors. Maybe at nighttime you have dark and you get to look at the stars, and then you can have a fire. A glass of wine at the fire, marshmallows,
I think you
s'mores.
just
Should I
asked
keep
him out on a
going?
date.
Yeah, Tom.
I accept this date. I will be there. Fine. Favorite music album? Or
Anything
artist?
Beatles.
Anything
I'm a big Beatles fan. Love the Beatles.
Have you seen the show by Cirque du Soleil?
Love.
Yeah,
yes.
Love.
Loved the show Love.
Love the
Did you
show.
love
In
Love?
Vegas.
I love
Yeah.
Love. Yeah.
Aw.
Favorite inspirational quote?
Do unto others as you want done unto yourself. And there's something that I by which I'll never be able to. Winston Churchill says something about having a life, like just giving yourself away and making a difference in people's lives.
Do unto others. That was a great Dennis Rodman quote.
Bang!
Yeah,
Right,
timely.
an elbow.
Yeah, all right. Mac or PC?
PC.
Oh, but delicious. Raise your hand if you have a Mac.
I didn't say I don't have a Mac. Apple, if you'd like to sponsor the show along with Melissa, feel free to give us a call.
Yes.
I didn't say I had both. Okay, ready?
Breakfast or dinner?
Oh, definitely dinner. It's more social.
Cook or dine out?
Definitely cooking.
Cooking.
And a glass of wine.
What's your go-to dish? Do you have like a go-to that you?
Fishes.
Okay, just in general.
Fish, yeah.
Alright, I like it.
Good job. You survived.
How do we exit out? We don't have an exit out.
You just
of the
made
rapid
up that
fire.
we need to exit out. We've
Yeah.
never had to do that before.
If it's in, it's gonna be out.
I feel like that's a good way for me to get slapped. Just watch.
Hashtag HR. All right, congrats. We're out of the rapid fire round. Nice work. But again, so thank you for now. Now I feel like they know you really well. They realize how ridiculous we can be at times as well.
If they watched any episode, they knew that already, but okay.
But the topic for today, and this is what's interesting, why we have you here, is because you've done something that a lot of leaders would love to do, however, are really struggling to do, which is how do I exit out of the day-to-day, the team, daily team-to-team, and focus on the business or on the team versus in the team or in the business. And so we have a couple questions we want to follow up, but also can you just give us sort of the timeline of like what's the business and what point did you move out?
Yeah, so great question. So I'm in the financial services business for 30 years.
Wow.
And I have now a competent team that I trust, I rely on, I listen to be able to hand the baton off, to give up the control, to give up the, to trust them that they're going to be able to do that. And that's really new. It's I'm telling you, it's got to be in the past 3 to 4 years. And I'm continuing to kind of get better. Because what ends up happening is we're creatures of habit. And I want to go back into the weeds. I want to do things that I'm not good at. I want to try to, because I always did this stuff. And I'm blessed that I have people that I can rely on. And that sometimes also say to me, what are you doing? Like, you shouldn't be doing that. So,
Like every day here at Swift Kick.
Yeah, I
I
know,
was
it's-
saying, oh, that's my job.
Sabina has a T-shirt that says, "Tom, what are you doing?"
yeah.
Just no, Tom.
Just no.
Just no. That's good.
Okay, so what's the difference? What is the difference between working on and working in?
So the working in is the actual doing. So in the financial services business, in the financial planning field, does it make, I sell insurance, life, long-term care, disability. I'm not strong at the application. I'm not strong at taking the application and processing the paperwork. When it comes to investments, it's so compliant. I'm not good at that part. What I am good at is being able to educate someone about an asset allocation, about how an investment plan, tax deductible or not deductible, fits into someone's overall big picture objectives, goals, helping them do things. So the working on is being on the telephone, talking to my clients or referrals and introductions, meeting face to face, doing things like this where there's public exposure and opportunity for branding under Saul Simon or Simon Says, and then I wrote a book. So how does this happen? This is the working on. It's being strategic. It's thinking creatively. It's thinking out of the box. And by my staff being able to do the day-to-day to help with the client service, I mean, we're probably getting a dozen phone calls a day with questions or thoughts or needs that they're there to handle the day-to-day, which allows me to go out and meet people, go out and take the business to the next level. One of the specific things that's happened is to the business owners, what's your ideal client? What is your ideal client? A, taking the time to define. And then B, actually, how do I go to the ideal client socially, professionally, through centers of influence of being introduced?
It's interesting when you say that, because I think about going back to the early days of Swift Kick when it was just me. Like I was doing everything that I was good at and bad at. And then as the team grew and the organization grew, what I discovered quickly is, like you're saying, is I had to, as a leader, figure out what I was best at and spend as much time as possible doing that, and then hire for people to do everything else.
Yeah, so
contracts for me, for example.
Exactly. So there's like something called unique abilities. I took this class called Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan, who's
out of Chicago.
That's right, and Toronto.
Great program.
If you'd like to sponsor this show, all kidding aside, I will happily. I love that. That's great.
I will happily come and spend time with Strategic Coach Dan.
He's a rock star. He's made a difference in my life. So it's about unique abilities. What are you unique at? What are you good at? Public speaking, being on television, being out there, and just touching people. And I'm very blessed that people take me into their confidence. I have some sort of a welcoming or soft side where people are able to say things to me. People have looked at me and said, I've never told anybody that. I'm like, thank you for taking me into your space, because money is a really, it presses people's buttons because there's a lot of emotion there. And even wealthy people, however you define wealthy, they don't think they're wealthy. Because we're all like, I don't want to show you anything, I don't want to talk about anything, like sex and church and state and then money. And I'm not sure which order it's in. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, not there's
and if I offended anybody just now, I apologize.
Oh, no, we have offended multiple people throughout the show. It's all good.
You'll get over it.
HR.
But so pulling from some of those concepts that you were talking about, how do you know when you're spending too much time in the wrong area?
Yeah, that's a great question. So from experience, this is really funny. So you know how you can get stressed out in life? Very often you're getting stressed out because you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, or you're not good at those things. And so that's one of the things that I realize. And I like getting lit up, like just being lit up and excited and having attitude, right? Like positive attitude. So when I get frustrated, or I find myself losing patience, or I'm challenged by certain things that I have to stop and reflect and say, I'm not really good at this. And maybe I could have someone who is good at it, and I could delegate. And I'm kind of a good delegator, and you have to be. And I'm not going to kid you that I've had lessons learned, and we've had some errors in the business process of the delegation, where I wouldn't have done it like that. But that's the learning curve, and that's the process of being able to do what we all do, and it's a matter of growing. We're all growing. And I'm a student. I'm actually I'm back to being a student in my business. I've always been a student in life, but in business, and that also is an opportunity to conceptually be the working on the business as opposed to working in the business. E-Myth.
Yeah.
Great
book. Gerber, yep, the
Yeah.
E-Myth and the E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah,
Great books.
yeah.
I just want to quickly jump in. For the millennials watching, he said lit up, not lit. There's a difference here. Just clarifying. He said I want to be lit
Honestly,
up.
for a second, I was like, what now? Oh.
Well, on that note, where's the... No. Hey, Smirnoff. No.
We have never solicited for so many sponsorships in an episode before.
What is happening?
I want to jump in though about what you said about delegation, because this happened recently in Swift Kick. So Sam, who's in charge of sales and client relations on that side of it, she was working on building out a map of the sales graph of like what do you do at each step, and she went into Canva, which we use for design. And she was just really struggling with it. And she brought me a V1 of it. And I realized how I had delegated it to her, thinking she'd figure out. And I realized that she had never used Canva. And her skill level of where it's at to where it needed to be was so far that I pulled it back. And I said, you know what? It's not within that 85 or 90% that I look to aim when I delegate something to someone else on the team compared to what if I were to do it myself.
Brilliant.
And so then I pulled it back and then let her focus on what her strengths are. In similar, anytime I'm doing something and I feel if I get stressed in a bad way or if I get really bored, sometimes I get bored. I'm like, I just don't like doing this. And paperwork's one of those. Sabina, she gets lit up.
I do get lit up with paperwork.
And so I get lit up handing the paperwork over to her.
That's right.
Forward.
It's just.
I
so
wish
funny.
I had glasses sometimes just so I could be like,
It's amazing.
I
But it's important for leaders to know out there, because I think what's important here is both what Saul's saying is that just because you don't like it doesn't mean no one else is going to like it. In fact, because you don't like it, there is someone else in this world that loves that thing that you hate.
Yeah, again, to those business owners, I'm a really bad interviewer to hire staff. Because I only want to hire people who I like or who like me. And if in fact that's happening, that means I'm hiring more of bees. And I need the opposites.
Yeah.
I need like my business partner today, we are night and day. 180 degrees. Yet in business as a partnership, we're 1 + 1 = 3. And I'm so blessed. And the consumer, our clients, totally get it. Totally see it, totally feel it, and they then know who to turn to based on that, which is really pretty extraordinary.
Yeah. Topgrading is the book for hiring. Jeff Smart. If anyone cares. No. Okay.
Random.
Just
party
know,
one.
Tom.
No, because you're talking about hiring the right people. So I was thinking what's a great book.
You're talking
so.
to the business owner,
Yeah.
it's like, I wake up in the morning wanting to contribute and make a difference. And that's both personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And work for me is my passion. It's not work.
Yeah.
I mean, how lucky. I'm so lucky. I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm really blessed. I have family. I have, my parents are healthy and my children are healthy. And I think gratitude, I know we're going off a little subject, but you want to have appreciation. And I also always often, as I can, acknowledge my team for taking care of me or taking care of clients. Because isn't that what we're doing in life? For me, it's not about money. It's just not about money for me.
Which is ironic given your...
You take care of money.
But it's not about
It's not about money.
No, but Liz,
It's so true, though.
I coach everything. When my kids were young, I coached it all.
Yeah.
And if that meant being there at 4:30, I designed my life, designed my work schedule so I could be there.
4:30 a.m. Right?
No,
She wakes up.
And I'm a sunset. You're right.
London time.
Right. Anyway, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about the transition part.
Yeah.
And so are there overriding things that maybe a business owner or a leader of a team should be focused on, or is it specific to each person? So are there overriding things that if I'm working on the team or on the business that I should be focused on?
So, this is just my experience and my opinion. It has to do with personal learning of yourself and personal evolution. So I guess the first thing you need to know is who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Call yourself out. Be candid and straight. And if that means developing certain skills, then that's something you should be doing for personal growth and development. Once you're able to, and I journal, and sometimes I'll throw my thoughts on paper and then burn it, throw it away. But it's getting that clutter out of my head, so it frees me up to work on the business or get rid of any types of personal things that are going on with me. So when I'm in a, and maybe that's why I also enjoy yoga. What a coincidence, because I'm in that meditation, that safe space. So I'm able to then realize this is what I bring to the table, and this is what I need. And I'm human to say these are my needs. And when you're able to talk to your team in this type of intimate, vulnerable manner, like yesterday I just said to someone, he was having some issues with relationships. And I just said to him straight up, I said, life's a mirror. I said, if you're vulnerable and you say one thing that's a little vulnerable, life's a mirror. It's going to come right back at you, which all of a sudden someone feels connected or bonded to. So back to the focused question of working on your business, you need to know who you are. In order to know what your strengths, your weaknesses, what your time frame is, budget accordingly, right? I mean, but when I was younger, I had interns. Help me with public relations. Interns do certain things to help me with various aspects of my practice because I didn't have the time. They got 3 credits. They became part of team. They helped with culture. Young people bring such a juice, and they get lit up.
Hopefully not on the job.
Right.
Great. That's great. I love it.
Yeah. So then I get having to know who you are then, but how do you not get sucked back into it then? How do you?
Right.
Because it's so easy to just be like you said, we're creatures of habit.
Creatures of habit.
So after you learn who you are and after you learn how to do the things that you've been doing on your own all the time, how do you say no? How did you learn how to not do that?
Yeah, so it's a process, and I had some people working with me 4 or 5 years ago in the past years that I either didn't hire properly or realized that I needed more strengths from someone else to handle things, to be candid. So maybe I'm a bit of a late bloomer or it just took me a little bit of time. But what I find is when I get frustrated, when I catch myself doing those, and it took time. That's why I hired this guy, David, 5 years ago. And I said pretty powerfully that it's just happened maybe in the past 3 years or maybe 2 years because it took me time to adjust to trusting, to teaching, to being able to delegate and have certain functions happen. He runs my operation right now. He's managing staff. I'm not good at that. I'm not. I want to have fun. I want to what do you want to do? What do you want to do today? Play in a sandbox. You can't do that stuff when it comes to money. The market gyrating. When I educate people about money, whatever's happening in the world, it's noise. It's noise. I'll come back to what are your goals? What's your time frame? We can't time the market. So to answer your question, you got to catch yourself. You got to actually. It's like having that third eye. When you're doing something this is for anybody. It's not just a business owner. Even students, when you're doing something and you're in the moment, what if you had a third eye overlooking what we are doing to determine, am I using my time in the best manner possible. And again, I'm 56 years old, and I just recently realized what my time is worth. Like I was helping and giving and helping and giving personally and professionally, that I really never factored in selfishly my time. I get up at 4:30 so I can take my classes, so I could be out in the world when I'm supposed to be out in the world for a breakfast meeting. That's another thing. Never eat alone. Never eat alone. You want to talk about networking? People need to eat breakfast. They need to eat lunch. They maybe need to have a cocktail. You should be out, never ever eating alone. We should write a book on that. Somebody did.
Simon Sinek. He beat us to that one.
Right.
Oh no! He said no.
It wasn't
His was leaders eat last. So this is different. Never eat alone.
There's a gentleman who wrote a
Nobody steal
book.
this idea, right?
No, I didn't.
No. It's already
an
written.
idea, yeah.
Never eat alone. But
It's gotta be, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just it's just a great and you're always I'm always learning from people. But you have to have an open mind to do that, right? Because when you're in that mind frame, you're then able to bring that learning to working on your business, taking your goals to the next level, and being able to accomplish things. But I'll also say something about communication. Communication is clutch. You have to communicate with your team, with your personal family, about what you're up to in life, so that they can then share with you what they're up to, so you can help support that, and then be able to together, it's like great culture.
Yeah. It reminds me the time management piece of it. Peter Drucker's book, The Effective Executive, it's a big section of it, talks about that effective leaders are ruthless managers of their own time. And they always recognize that stuff creeps into that schedule throughout the week, and then they'll go and check back to see what of all of this should I actually be working on versus passing off. And I know in prior episodes we talked about the prioritization funnel of delegation, but it ultimately gets down to what should I be spending on this moment that's most critical to the business, the organization, or my life.
Personal development. And that's like, waking up, or maybe the night before, putting together a 5-bullet or 10-bullet, what do I need to accomplish today, this week? And then after you see this list, you then kind of prioritize it. You got to take those 5 things that maybe were on the bottom and, wow, you know what? That's really a priority.
Yeah.
And then how good do you feel when you get to cross something off? You know that phone call that you are afraid to make? You know that phone call that you're right now thinking I have to make?
No,
Make
what are you
it.
talking about? I don't have any of
Make
those.
it.
I texted him, okay?
Soft. Smooth.
An emoji.
Emails, texts don't work.
It's
Don't work. It's being lazy. Cut it out.
He's basically talking to his kids right now.
Simon says.
All right, we are so based because you've given so much good content. We're so over time on questions. However, one final question for you to close out this part is that what do you think are the biggest blockers for a leader to actually spend their time focusing on versus in? What inhibits them the most that you see, or for yourself?
Yeah, so I absolutely, again, I'll come back to the yoga. You need to have a clear head. You need to have a clear head, and you need to either journal or realize what are you up to and what do you want to accomplish. Like, what are you up to? What do you want to accomplish so that you can fulfill that mission and take the small steps to get there. When you have that little voice in your head, that little chatter that doesn't shut up, that little voice is the worst friend that I have because he's so critical. So be in a clear space, trust your team, communicate, have gratitude, happiness, and peace is some of those takeaways that I think our viewers want to listen to.
Wow, awesome.
If that voice is saying burn, 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 talk to someone.
It's time for some shameless self-promotion.
Speaking of voices.
Speaking of voices.
So if you just give us a moment, we just got to talk to the people out there.
Okay, great.
Hi, people out there.
Hi, people out there, and people. Hi, Mom. Tom and Melissa here with Swift Kick. Just so they know out there, we do leadership programs. We train leaders on how to run their teams and organizations more effectively. And if you've ever wanted to create an experience for your team that elevated it to the next level, maybe through a board breaking, so your team breaks through boards with goals and barriers attached to it, or even an arrow breaking where you put the tip of the arrow right here and someone presses into it so you're stepping into the fear, that's what we do. And we would love to come to your team and organization and work with you to train you on how you can break through barriers and elevate the success of your team. But how can they do that, Melissa?
How? So there's a couple of ways. You can head over to swiftkick.hq.com, check out our site, peruse all of the information, and check out our blog, lots of content. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel here, but you can also get on our newsletter by texting Team Human to 66866. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, we do work with corporate and college teams. So no matter what your group or organization, we are definitely the people for you.
Okay. Just no,
Excellent.
Tom. Just no, Tom.
And now back to a regular scheduled programming.
One of these days
Is
we're going
that
to
voice
find that
coming
voice.
from?
I'm hearing a voice,
It's
and I'm
gone.
not sure if I should just accept it or talk to someone. Welcome back. Thanks for the interruption there, because it is now time for the guest activity. And to do so, we're going to pass it over to Sabina, who's going to guide us through this.
Yes. So, I decided, I was thinking about the fact that you have to change your perspective if you're working on a team versus in a team. It's a whole different way of looking at things, which brought me to improv, which brought me to a fun little game called Fortunately, Unfortunately. Have you ever heard of this?
I have not.
Unfortunately, no.
I have not.
So, the way it works is that we'll all go around, and we'll go this way. I'll start so that nobody's very confused. I'll say a fortunately statement, whatever comes into my head. Melissa will then say, unfortunately, and piggyback off of what I said, but turn it around into something negative. And then Tom will make it positive again by saying, fortunately. And you'll say, unfortunately, and we'll keep going, and we'll see how long we can go with whatever the heck I come up with at this very moment. I'm actually very nervous because now I have to do this for real.
I'm going to start the clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
90 seconds. Go.
Fortunately, Tom's watch broke when he tried to set the clock.
Unfortunately, there's no second hand on his clock to begin with.
Fortunately, time is a myth of the imagination, so it doesn't matter at all.
Unfortunately, I have absolutely no idea what time it is.
Fortunately, it doesn't matter because all the time is fun time.
Unfortunately, I don't like to have fun.
Fortunately, the doctor prescribed her not to have fun, so it's actually okay she's not having fun.
Unfortunately, I am someone that disagrees with fun.
45 seconds.
Fortunately, I am a trained fun expert, and I can help you learn how to enjoy fun.
Unfortunately, I don't want to learn.
Fortunately, learning uses more calories in the brain, and so it's unfortunate that she's using more calories.
Unfortunately, I'm unfortunately in the negative space of speaking about food and time and saying things like, I don't like to have fun. Which is absolutely an oxymoron because I am fun.
And scene.
That is a great way to
Good work, good work.
What?
Perfect.
You started it.
I started.
You did. That brings us to the end of the episode.
Thank you for humoring me with that.
yeah.
That was
My
fun.
pleasure. I think it was great.
Yeah, this is when a single tear slowly rolls down the face.
Oh boy.
So we like to end every episode with a final thought. So if you were going to summarize, just like it's the to everyone out there, what's your final summary of everything? And we'll just go around.
I'll start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think the thing that sticks out
Do we
for
lean
me.
forward?
Oh.
Oh, soft music.
Here you go.
All right.
Soft music. Where's the band?
Come on.
Single tear.
Single tear. Oh, well, mine's not that sad. But what sticks out for me is when you talked about if it frustrates you, then maybe you're just not good at it, and you have to get somebody else to do it instead.
I think that sticks out for me the most is one thing that Saul said was that sometimes he's messed up in delegation and going from in to on, and that it's okay because he's gotten better and better and better at it.
My takeaway today is having a coach, having someone that can take me out of my day-to-day and be working in as opposed to working on. And the only person that's going to help me to do that is an outsider because I'm so in my ways. So I think having a coach and someone to help me to take it to the next level is pretty important.
Unfortunately, I don't do a final thought.
Sabina doesn't think finally.
No, it's ever going for me.
Sabina, before we leave and say goodbye to everyone, do we have anything? Oh, we want to plug his book real quickly.
Yes, you briefly mentioned it, but tell us a little more.
Love Your Legacy.
A guide to financial education for you and your family. It's a great beginning book, and it goes from pretty simple to some sophisticated estate planning thoughts and processes. It makes a great gift for students, especially graduates, because a lot of this information is not taught in school. And if you don't pay yourself first, I'm a real Simon Says, I don't believe in credit card debt, and you have to live within your means. And I'll reiterate by saying pay yourself first. So
Love
Amazon, or you can contact me at 1-888-SIMON-SAYS, and I can get you out of it.
Amazing.
And I noticed, Sabina, it says Simon Says, and it's got Simon Says tips throughout the book.
Wow, that's really cool. Which brings me to a little thank you gift that all of us are giving you.
Thank you.
And it's got the most beautiful bow on the planet.
It's very gracious. Thanks very much.
You go ahead and
Open
it
it
up.
up.
Yeah, we like to indulge ourselves with the opening.
I love opening gifts. Oh my God!
There's also something else behind it.
You guys are great. Better call Saul Simon. 1-888-SIMON-SAYS. I actually
if I had known that, I would have put that on there.
Simon Says phone number.
That's so
Thanks,
good.
you guys. That's very
Absolutely.
gracious.
I think we
Thank
have one
you.
more for him as well.
Nope. Oh, yes, you're right. Not one more poster, but
What?
I know that you have
A son.
a son who is about to think about college, and we thought this might give him a little bit of a head start.
And this is your book.
This is us.
How awesome is that? First year student to first year success, 21 things you need to know when starting college. Wow,
Yeah.
this is clutch.
So we're trading books. I'm going to take
That's
this.
Amazon bestseller. You can find it on Amazon. Amazon. All right. With that, thank you so much for being a part of it.
Thanks.
Enjoy. Give
Thank
it a round of
you.
applause.
Thank
Fireworks.
I don't know
And
what
thank
that
you
is.
to all of you for joining us for another episode of Swift Kick TV, airing every month and little snippets throughout the week on the socials.
Subscribe.
On the socials. Subscribe.
Call
all of
me.
the places. Thank
Call
you so
him,
much
beat
for
him.
watching.
Bye.
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 Bye. We need fireworks.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure the building would be totally cool with fireworks.
I love it.
Yeah.